right, we're live. I'm joined tonight by John Rozelle.
Hello.
John, go ahead and give us a brief introduction of yourself.
Well, as you know, my name is John Rozelle. Aside from that, I just graduated from Miami University and currently unemployed.
Awesome. It's a good way to start. We're currently drinking your family cider.
That's right. We pull apples every year and make cider every year.
Do you have apples on your property?
We have apples on our aunt's property about a mile west.
That's awesome.
We have a bunch. And we have kind of a new orchard, but it's not fruiting yet. So
you'll be getting those in a few years?
Hopefully.
Sweet.
Yeah.
So you graduated. What's the next steps?
Find a job.
Or hold on. Let me go back. What did you graduate with? What was your major?
I graduated with a degree in art history.
Okay.
So it's basically just a history degree with a focus on art and architecture.
And what do you hope to do with that?
I don't know. I took architecture and art history to kind of just because, I was pre-med, so, and I failed chemistry like 3 times. So I had to take whatever I could take, and art history sounded like it was cool. So I took that, and here I am.
Here you are. Do you feel like you learned?
I guess, yeah.
What have you learned? I guess, so you developed a passion for art, or did you already have that going for you?
I liked art. I like to make art, but I don't think I appreciated it very much until you kind of learn what all goes into it and the thought behind it. But I think I have a pretty good basis going forward. So
do you think that's where art gathers some of its value? The work that goes into it, or the work behind it, or?
Beauty is in the eye of the beholder. So, I mean, it's kind of in depth to get into.
Well, go ahead. I mean, we got all night. We're sitting here over a glass of sparkling cider.
Well,
give me your theory of what is art, what makes art valuable, why make art.
Well, art's like anything. This glass is art. This tabletop is art. So it's kind of what isn't art, which there isn't really much that isn't art unless you count the natural world around us, which I guess to the theory of, I think it's Plato. It's one of those old philosophers that made the theory that there's a hierarchy of, I don't know off the top of my head. It was on a paper I did a long time ago. But basically it goes the highest art form is the natural world that's created by God, and it goes down to the carpenter, which makes a bed frame in the image of God, and then the artist who makes a picture of the bed frame in the image of God, and it goes down from there. So, I mean, that's kind of a classical basis, but going forward in contemporary times, it's kind of a free for all, really.
Really?
Yeah.
Why do you do it?
It's like a meditation. It's fun. It's freeing. It's exciting. It's just something you can do, get outside or get away from people and create something.
So painting is your medium. Why painting?
It's a very direct medium. You can do a lot with it. You can create a very sophisticated picture. It's very realistic, or you can create something that's more abstract. It's more it's something you'd see in with a Van Gogh painting or something. It doesn't look like a Da Vinci painting of Mona Lisa, but it still has some depth and character to it.
You enjoy Van Gogh?
He's a good artist.
Did you go to that? What was it? The traveling, or the thing that's in every single city, the Van Gogh experience. I walk through and
I have I'm not really sure about having an opinion on that. It's kind of I don't know. It's I feel you just see it in person. It kind of takes away from the art
because they're projecting it.
Yeah,
and it's all of his pieces in one place, or what?
Well, it's looking at a picture on Instagram. You don't really see it for what it is. it's like you don't see the physical object. You're looking at your phone screen.
What do you think about images on Instagram or posting art or buildings on?
Well, it kind of creates a hierarchy of art. Like what looks good on Instagram is going to get copied because that's what like gets views and likes and followers and eventually money. So we're kind of like entering like a realm of, I don't know, like an Instagram art, whatever. And it's, I don't know.
What would you say looks good on Instagram?
Just, I think there's kind of like a degree of realism that you need, but like certain amount of abstraction. Like people love thick paint. People like stuff that looks real. Like people want to see a glass, but they don't want to see like the abstract value of a glass. They want to see like the glass as it is itself. Okay. So like you paint the glass, so you throw a little flair into it, and it looks good. I don't know if you've seen like people doing paintings of like probably oranges or tangerines or something like that, like just against a black background. I mean, that's art, but like, from what does it detract from art? I don't know.
So is still life something that you see on Instagram a lot? I think like a style that you see a lot.
It's not like necessarily like the genre of painting, but it's like the style. Well, it's not really the style. I guess it's like
just because of the contrast between like the fruit and a background looks good on a screen, or just
like what looks like when you're talking about like what looks good in a picture is like the composition of the picture. But like how many times have you seen like a painting of like a road and there's like a little barn off to the side and there's some castles and some mountains in the background? That's like it just looks good because that's how it is, because it like follows a certain composition, and that's just the way like your eye follows it, and it's like, this is a pleasing picture, but it doesn't have like an original value to it.
Okay. So when you post your artwork on Instagram, what value do you see in posting it? Or do you see that it detracts from your artwork at all, or has value because it can reach a wider audience?
I don't know. I think it's kind of difficult to be an artist in today's age without having Instagram, because how are you going to sell art if no one sees your art? And you're just like, as soon as you get on Instagram, you have like infinitely like wider viewer base. So I don't think it detracts or anything or necessarily adds to it besides like the additional viewer base. But I mean, I just post because that's what everyone else does.
Do you have a method of photographing your art for Instagram?
I just use my phone usually.
Okay.
I use my phone, or if I'm taking like a higher quality image for my website, I'll use like DSLR camera, whatever it is. Yeah, I do that and try to make it not have a bunch of glare.
Right. What do you think about, one thing that annoys me so much in art museums is the lighting, like the glare on a lot of the paintings.
Yeah, well, I mean, it's kind of difficult to get away with like having non-glare because of the surface of the paint is like relatively glossy, especially with like classical paintings that have varnish on them. I don't know if you like really get away from it.
What do you think about let's see, this Leonardo that just sold? It's questionable if it is a Leonardo. It's one with the orb, the Mundus.
I forget what it's called. It's a dude holding like the glass bowl or something.
Yeah.
I don't know. I
think it's real. That, like, I guess when you study art history, did you get into, what did you study exactly? Salvador Let's go that way. Did Salvador Mundi.
Oh, that's right. Yeah.
Right. Did you like when you study art history? Do you look at particular artists? Do you just look at periods, a little bit of everything?
Well, it's like a super general education, so we kind of like look at what the professor wants us to look at. So, for example, we had like an African, or like a teacher who's like very into African art, especially like West African art. So we did that for like
what time period?
Just
whenever,
from now till then, basically whenever.
Okay.
Then we had like professors that are like super into photography or like feminist art, stuff like that. It's a very liberal education.
Mm-hmm. Do you take other classes as well then?
I took
mostly art classes.
It's mostly art classes, mostly like art history classes, writing and research. I took some classical classes, like about like Achilles and Alexander the Great, stuff like that.
Really?
Yeah.
How were those?
Like the subject's interesting, but like the professor kind of didn't make it that interesting.
Why is that?
It's like it's a lot of reading, which like I'm okay with, but like it's a lot of reading about like really, really dense articles and then like trying to like find something to talk about. So it's like I don't understand this article, but I'm gonna write about something anyways. And that's kind of how it goes.
So our last guest we just had on, we kind of got on the topic of classics and the Greek influence on like current Western culture, I guess. So like, is there value you take from reading those classics?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, there's a lot of influence on Western and European art from like ancient Greece and Rome, or even just like the political world or like the world in general. But like reading, you can kind of see a trend in like, I don't know, like the subject matter, like how, like, I don't really know how to talk about it, honestly. It's really interesting.
What was that? I'm scared. Are we all right with the audio? What we got on that? Yeah, I mean, I don't know. It seems like we didn't get a whole lot of that education through high school, I guess. I think we read the Odyssey. That was about the extent of classic, maybe a couple Shakespeare or something. But I don't know that we really got all that. What are you guys doing?
What? Stay with it.
These distractions. People moving all around over here. All right. We'll try to get back. Let's pop another bottle of...
Can we do the Sizer?
Yeah, let's do the Sizer.
Can you talk a little bit about it too?
So this is Sizer. It's apple cider and mead, which is basically just fermented honey wine, plus like a bunch of brown sugar and dates. So it's not like super sugary, but it's definitely super alcoholic. A little more so than this cider, which usually runs about like 8% or so, and this stuff's probably about 14. So that's a good sign. Here, pour yourself. Does anyone want a glass?
Smells good.
That's it.
Chug our glasses real quick so we can get to the next stuff.
That is a little bit more potent than the other one. That's good.
Yeah.
What's that?
I'm behind.
Make myself a little more.
Good stuff. Did they have mead in ancient Greece?
I'm sure
They probably did. I guess that's supposed to be one of the first forms of alcoholic beverage that we consumed.
Yeah. Well, didn't like in medieval days, didn't they drink like beer instead of water?
Yeah, I mean, supposedly they drink like a little bit watered down wine because of the sanitary effects of it.
Some grog.
Yeah, grog. That's actually on pirate ships. I guess they would mix like rum or whatever alcohol they had with their water to keep it from going bad because they would just keep it in barrels or whatnot.
It creates more volume too.
Does it? How so?
Well, like just having like watered down alcohol, you get more out of it.
Oh, of the alcohol. Yeah. Yeah, but Oh man, could you imagine drinking alcohol as your? I mean, I'm sure it wasn't very alcoholic if it's like watered down wine, but still drinking it all day long would have to be brutal after a while.
Maybe that's why there's so many wars.
That could be. There's definitely a relationship between alcohol, drugs, and wars throughout all the time. I mean, they'd always send them out. They'd get them drunk before battles, or even recently, like use pharmaceuticals before battles. It's pretty crazy stuff.
Yeah. People used to fight over salt.
Over salt?
Yeah.
What's this story? What's this one? I feel like I vaguely know of this. But
salt was like a pretty important resource to have, especially like when like refrigeration wasn't a thing. Like, how are you going to save your meat or like vegetables or whatever? Mm-hmm. So whoever like holds the amount of salt gets to live longer. Okay. So people used to fight.
That's true.
Someone would have to fact check me on that.
Yeah, I want to know. No. I think you're accurate. I don't know what. I'm having a hard time. Like, what?
That was my check.
That's right. You agree. Our fact checker said he agrees.
Cool. I'm spot on.
Yeah, mead. I guess like one of the theories. Do you know who Terrence McKenna is?
Wasn't he the guy who did the stoned ape theory? No.
Yeah.
He was? Okay.
That's like one of his things. So he has this theory of basically like how the West went from like a psychedelic culture to an alcohol culture. And so he thinks that people like German people or something like that, like medieval times, they used to take mushrooms and whatnot. But anyways, he thinks that they tried to preserve them in honey, and they ended up getting mead, and then they ended up kind of switching over to
I think I've heard of that
alcoholic lifestyle. And then there's like the Bavarian beer code or whatever. Germany actually set forth like an official edict that like beer can only be made of like 3 ingredients.
I haven't heard of that, but I'm sure it's like something.
You telling me to wrap this segment?
No, we'll wrap it.
Wrap it?
Yeah.
And we're ready to keep going. Where were we at? Bavarian beer laws?
Yeah, what about that?
No, but I mean, like wine has been an important thing. Alcohol in general has been an important thing in culture for a long time.
Yeah.
And nobody really knows why. Like, it's supposedly relatively poisonous to the body.
Yeah, to a certain extent. It's, it impairs you. So the more you drink, the more,
but for some reason we pursue it though. Like,
well, it feels good.
Andy is lost. There's like a certain level. I mean, a philosopher wrote about like, what does he say? Something about he talks about being like the correct level of drunk, I guess, like where you're intoxicated and you're elevated versus being like just completely inebriated and not being able to function. And he talks about like maintaining that level, like how it opens up social event, like there's more social cohesion, you're able to talk easier, thoughts are flowing more freely, and it somewhat like gets you out of your head.
Yeah. Well, I mean, that's like certainly a thing. I mean, you drink a little bit and you feel a little better and you can talk a little more free. Mm-hmm. I guess that's why we're doing it right now.
I guess so. I mean, I really just wanted to try your homemade product.
Yeah, well.
And it's good so far.
That's a good thing.
No, I mean, beer allegedly, now they're saying that we invented agriculture to feed our need for beer. That hunter-gatherers were already making beer with wild grains before we started doing agriculture.
I'm sure they have. There's a native tribe in, I forget where exactly. I'm pretty sure it's somewhere in Mexico, and I don't know the name of the tribe, but I studied them for my curatorial internship, and they like, I think it's an annual celebration where they like make corn beer and get like really wasted on it.
Really?
Yeah.
What is corn beer?
I have no idea.
What would that be like?
It's like corn mash and you ferment
Like
it.
whiskey?
No.
Isn't whiskey from corn?
Well, it's like distilled.
Or not? I know it's distilled, but it like the mash starts from corn, right? Or no? Am I off?
I'm pretty
Or is
sure.
it just like beer?
No, corn is definitely whiskey, right?
Yeah, there's a liquor that starts from corn. You're saying whiskey? Yeah. I don't know.
I don't know. It's not wheat, so is it wheat? I don't know. Maybe we should just move off of this topic.
I think we have somebody Googling it.
Oh, cool.
Oh. So your curatorial internship, what did you do? Corn.
We were
Yeah.
Whiskey. Corn.
Whiskey corn.
For my internship, we just, basically we had like a catalog of items or objects or artifacts from like the museums, like back of the house, and I just researched them and wrote about them.
What museum were you at?
Miami Universities.
Okay.
So it was just the university's museum, and they just had like, it's I forget what it's called. It's the global perspectives exhibit, and it has like a little bit of everything. I did African, South American, pre-Columbian, and something else. I don't remember. It was a lot. It was fun. I get to learn a lot about a lot of stuff, and I guess it was helpful.
Tell us about something you learned. See how much you remembered from your research.
I don't know. I mean,
Or like anything interesting, or like a topic.
well, there's like a lot of artifacts that I know about, or like very surface level like knowledge of. I'm trying to think of one. There's an African headdress for a king. I don't remember the name of it. Like a lot of things I don't remember, but it's the king is supposed to put on the headdress, and it's supposed to connect him to like the past, like his ancestors. Yeah,
It's cool.
so that's a cool thing.
Isn't it strange how indigenous cultures have a lot of the same customs all around the world?
Yeah, I mean, there's like certainly a trend in like our socio-political.
Do you think that's just a product of humans being wired similarly, or do you think that they like had contact with one another? Or?
I mean, to a certain extent, we've all had contact with one another. So,
How so?
I mean, we all come from something, and there's always there's a certain stream that we all come from. Like all creeks and rivers go back to the same place.
The ocean?
Ocean.
What?
Which one?
I don't know.
They're all connected, right?
I'm not a geographer.
No. That is interesting.
Yeah.
What do you think of the African influence on abstract art of the teens, 20s? Picasso stealing African objects and such.
Yeah. It's kind of a touchy subject because, I mean, he did use African masks. It's difficult to say African because Africa is such a huge continent, and there's a bunch of different cultures within the continent.
Mm-hmm.
So saying African is like saying European, which country. But Picasso definitely did use some masks in his artwork, and people didn't like him for it. Well, people now especially. It's kind of the cancel culture thing. But the only I will support Picasso because you can't. I don't think you can really appropriate imagery because I can draw whatever I want,
right?
And I can use it in my artwork however I want. How he used it, I don't see. you can see the African influence, but you can't see like how it's used in the culture, and I think that's problematic. So as an artist, you kind of have to stay away from that kind of stuff.
So you're saying that the imagery itself is not appropriation, but what did you nail down on that point about the culture, I guess?
So like he used the mask, and I forget what the painting's called. It's
the one with the like 3 women and the faces.
Yeah, that's the one. I don't know like the entire story behind it, but he used those like as models, like the mask as models for the women. And I mean, like the masks are like obvious. Like you see like the mask, and you see the actual mask from like the whatever tribe or culture in Africa it's from, and you kind of like, as like a viewer, you wonder like, where is it from? Like, who's it from? And you don't like get a sense of that. So I think that's the only problem. Like, you're not like citing your work, and like,
okay.
I mean, there's so many different like patterns and like lines and stuff you can draw. That's like, at what point do you like draw a line so you can't draw this? And it's like saying like, you can't think this.
Right.
So, I mean,
I think images are somewhat universal and somewhat transcendent of culture as well.
Yeah. I don't know. I mean, the whole appropriation of the mask, like there's 2 arguments, but I think the argument against it is like a little weaker. Just being an artist myself, because that kind of like,
what is the argument against it?
It's just like the appropriation of culture.
Just like appropriation is inherently wrong, or you know what I mean?
Yeah. Well, I mean, I don't know. Maybe it is wrong, maybe it isn't. Like,
oh no, I'm asking. That's what's framed as the argument against Picasso's use of the mask.
Yeah. I would say it's framed as wrong.
So why is it? So I guess the question that I would posit to that is, why is it correct to build off of images that are inherent in your own culture, and not to build off of images that are present in someone else's culture?
Well, that kind of goes back to like where we're talking about like the influence of like ancient Greece and like Roman stuff on today's artwork.
Yeah. So if he was to use a Greek statue, but he's Spanish.
Right. Well, I mean, I think that's because there's a connection between like Europe and America, because like a lot of classical artists, especially like Renaissance Italy, like their stuff kind of ties like really securely into that era.
It's Greek.
Yeah. So you go back there and then you come to now, and it's like, I don't know. I think the world is more global now, to a point where it doesn't really matter. So
I would agree. So he actually stole things from the Louvre, right? Like, I mean, he never got caught, right? But him and a group of artists were possibly stealing from the Louvre.
I don't know if they were or not. I don't know.
Okay, that's how I understood it.
If he did steal, like, well, you stole from a museum, but
yeah, I don't know.
There you go.
Or what's the other big issue? Like, because it was called primitive work.
Yeah, well, like a primitive, like this word has like a connotation with like lesser. So like it's not really primitive; it's just more abstract. So it's like the Western view on the African, or like the male gaze, except transferred to cultural.
I wonder why. In some of like indigenous artwork, why there's like elongated and exaggerated features, especially like physical features, facial features.
Yeah, I don't know. It's maybe just how they wanted to draw it. Yeah,
it's just kind of fascinating to me. No, I didn't expect you to have the answer to that, but that's just something that's interesting to me.
Yeah, I mean, like there's like, I feel like there's certain stylistic trends like across cultures. I couldn't really like. It's hard to say today because like when you talk about style, there's like a range of styles. Like you think styles develop like linearly, but they kind of like at this point they kind of develop like like lily pads in a pond, like they're all over the place. So they kind of grow here and there and there and there. And there's like certain groups of styles that like kind of like develop from one another, but like they can all kind of like sit within the same pond. So it's difficult to say.
I think that back to our point about social media and Instagram and things like this, I think that is one of these things that's contributing to all different kinds of styles. It seems like anybody can find inspiration in whatever style they want to now.
Right. Yeah.
Or like even like in I think we would see somewhat like secular trends in like fashion or music and things like that. But I think right now you can almost see it all at once. Yeah.
It's like, well, there's kind of like what's the overall trend, and then there's like a bunch of branches off of that. So like, I don't know, people are like really into 90s stuff right now, but like there's other people who are like really contemporary, other people who like to dress like Abraham Lincoln or something. So
yeah. Andy and I saw someone dressed as like a 15th century like monastic priest the other with sunglasses on when we were
Where'd you see this guy?
in LA of all places. Yeah.
There you go.
It was really fascinating. All right, we're back after a little interlude. John, tell us about your art.
Well, that's a pretty loaded subject to start off with.
Take it away.
I'll start off with saying that I'm not very good at self-promoting, because I kind of like to like work quietly. My artwork is, I mostly focus on the genres of like floral still lifes or like landscape paintings. But yeah, that's for the most part, that's my intro.
So how are you self-promoting at this time?
Well, you can follow me at John Rozelle Art. That's JohnRozelleart on Instagram.
Okay.
I don't really like post super frequently. I have been because I've been like doing like some little studies here and there.
I enjoyed your study. I like the one of Litzenberg.
Yeah.
Like the Ohio landscape.
Yeah.
In the winter.
I've been trying to get better at like more like realistic, like naturalistic, like color mixing, which is like, it's a lot of grays, which isn't like, it's not like super fun to like mix grays. They're like really close to each other, but it's like, it's very pleasing to like get the result. I guess my art like kind of consists more of like saturated color, and it's more impressionistic, one might say. But impressionism, I guess, is like impressionism, like people using the term kind of loosely, because like there's the impressionist style, which is like quick loose brushstrokes and like trying to capture like a certain light of a landscape or like a certain like feel. But people can use it for like even just like using like naturalistic tones and like having like a loose brushstroke, which is like kind of a thing on its own. So I kind of jump back and forth between the two. But yeah, I don't really have like a set style. Like people are always searching for style, but like you can't really like, it kind of just like comes like it's like your signature.
Well, you just killed my next question, because I was going to say, how did you decide upon your style or kind of craft your style? But I guess it still works. So
yeah,
even if you don't have a set style, it still is your style. So
right,
how did you develop that? I'm sure you still are developing that. But.
Yeah. Well, like when you're starting out, you have to draw like realistically, because like we're going back to like Plato's argument of like God and nature being like the highest form of art, or the highest form of art. So like the better you can draw something realistically, it gives you like a better scope of like how you can like push and pull like abstraction. So like when you're looking for a style, you look for artists that you like and like things that you like. Like there's some artists I like, Edgar Payne, John Russell Peters. He's a good impressionist artist. Monet, Van Gogh, all those people. Degas. I don't know. You can name a lot of people. I mean, I don't have like favorite artists. I like pretty much all art forms.
Mm-hmm.
So like you just take what you like and try to like put it to your own use, and that's kind of what I did.
Have you ever heard of T.C. Steele? You should check him out. He's like a landscape painter. He did a lot of Western landscapes.
T.C. Steele, huh?
Yeah, the only reason I know is he lived close to Bloomington, where I was living for a while, and his home and studio is now like a state park. It was really neat.
When is he like contemporary?
Like 1860s, 70s, like 1860s through maybe 90s, like American, I don't know, kind of like pastoral and like Western.
Yeah. There's another, I forget the guy's name. I'm going to go on my phone real quick because I have it saved.
Yeah.
But he's a really good Western artist. Here it is. Frederick Remington. He does, I don't know if you've seen this artwork before.
Oh, yeah.
But he's a really good Western artist. I guess he's could be considered an impressionist because he's kind of working in like the same time frame as them, but more like American Western impressionism. I think impressionism is probably more dominant in the Western hemisphere of the United States, probably because like there's like I think there's more, not necessarily more color, but there's more influence on the sun on the land, I guess, or of the sun on the land. It's like it's more glaring, it's more bright. As opposed to here, where it's kind of like it changes more. It's more tonalist. I think you get that kind of stuff with like in New York or like the far eastern sides of the United States. It's kind of more abstract. I don't know if that's because like it's more built up, more like city-like. Yeah, I don't know. It's interesting.
How do you seek out what you're gonna paint?
It's like you kind of just like walk through an area. Like if you like see something you like it's kind of like it's almost like an instinct. Like you see it and you like it, you want to paint it, and then you're like, I want to paint this. Just yesterday, I think it was yesterday, I painted a landscape, but it was just like the arborvitaes on my land, and I wanted to paint them because of like the light that was hitting was like really warm, and the composition was nice from where I was standing. It kind of like leads your eye into like the distance, with like the arborvitaes are like blocking your view, and they're kind of just like standing there. It's like these big dense figures, and they're like leading you into the landscape like far away. So it's like you kind of just find what you like.
I've heard you mention light a lot. That's a big component of it.
Yeah. Well, I mean, light is color, so you can't really have color without light. I don't know. I mean, what is there if there's not light? You just kind of have a darkness and nothingness.
Do you do you have to plan the time of day that you're gonna go out, or is it all interesting to you?
It's all really nice. I mean, the light changes really rapidly. So like the morning light is like kind of like softer, like more rosy. Like the sunsets are like more like fiery red, pinks and oranges and purples and stuff like that. But it's difficult to paint because of like how fast it changes.
Well, that's what I was going to say. So can you use photography to help with that? Or are you doing it mostly just by sight or?
I'm like starting to get more into like plein air painting, which is like just painting outside. But you can use photography. It helps with like details. I wouldn't recommend like doing it off of solely photography unless you're a really good photographer and can like really get like really accurate colors and stuff like that.
So I've heard there's this Van Gogh painting that he did during an actual storm, and there's pieces of sand embedded in the painting.
Is that the seascape one?
I think so, yeah.
Yeah.
So that's interesting. Like, do the the weather conditions have an effect on your painting?
I think weather has a larger effect on light than lighting does on painting. Because you get like different effects with different weather. So like if you have like a really high pressure, like bright clear day, you get really fluffy white clouds, and they kind of just like sink over like a really nice bluebird sky, and it kind of makes like a nice makes a nice painting. Or you could do like really like a moody, stormy painting. You get like gray clouds, like thunder clouds or whatever. So yeah.
Have you settled on a type of paint, like a brand or anything like that, or is there a certain type of paint that you like to use the most?
I use oil paints. So, I mean, I use a lot of different mediums, but oil paints are like what I use solely for like making compositions, like big paintings that like I want to put on a wall. I don't really use a specific brand. I use a lot of Gamblin oil paints because they're like pretty affordable. Mm-hmm. There's higher end stuff that you can use, but like I use some like Michael Harding paints. But like, I don't know, I didn't really notice like a distinct like upgrade in quality. Mm-hmm. So I just like use whatever like looks good and feels good. I have a bunch of different brands that I use because they have like all the colors that they have are different. So
paint is like such an art. I painted with oil one time and I had no idea like all of the different things behind thinning it, how long it takes to dry, things like that. I mean, do you thin your paint at all?
Yeah. So when you're painting with oils, it's like you have to follow like a formula to like get like a clean image. So you paint dark to light, which is like, you know, your dark colors, transparent colors, and then you like eventually like layer up to your like most lightest, like your lightest and most opaque colors. But you typically, because oil paints dry by oxidization, you have to, your lowest layer on the canvas has to be like the most thin or like the leanest, which is like has the least amount of fat in it, which would be the medium linseed oil or walnut oil or whatever is in the paints. But yeah, you thin it, you have a thin layer, you have a fat layer, you have a fatter layer, and like it dries more cohesively that way. So
yeah, there's so much of a science to it.
Yeah. Oh, it's like once you get it down, it's like pretty easy. Like you use this color like on this base layer, and then you thin it this amount, and then you like build up, and it's a process.
So when you go out, what did you say? Open air painting, or what did you call it?
It's plein air.
Plein air.
Plein air was a term coined by the French artists who like move their studios outside because they're focused on capturing the light.
So what do you bring with you? Like an easel, like what?
Yeah,
is your setup?
I have an easel. It's called a French easel, which is like an easel that the French Impressionists used because they wanted to go outside. But it's kind of like a suitcase, and you like open it up, and you have like a bunch of stuff you can put into it. You use your brushes primarily, your paints, your medium, your solvent, your rags and stuff, so you can wipe your paint brushes off and your canvas, and that's pretty much all you need, really.
Do you stand, sit, both?
You can sit, you can stand. One of my art professors told us that like standing like gives you more like vigor and life into your painting. Like it gives like you're more like you're able to like put yourself into the painting or whatever. So I usually stand, but it's like standing in like one spot for like a long period of time kind of like hurts.
Sure. Yeah. How long? I mean, I'm sure it's all different, but roughly, how long does it take you to complete a painting?
It depends on the size. I like to paint like on a relatively large scale because you can get more of your arm into it and get more gesture. So like the one I just did the other day, it was 24 by 36, and I started around 2 p.m. and I finished around 4. But that was just a block-in period. So I got like all the colors down in that period of time, and I have it in a place where like I don't know if I want to like keep working on it or leave like some of it alone. So
how do you know when it's finished?
You just know.
You just know.
There's like the more you're like fussing over it, the more like the closer you are to being complete. So like I don't know. It's hard to describe. Like when you know you're done, like you just know. Like,
Okay. Huh. What? You follow Art by Ara?
I do. Yeah. I see you
cool
follow
guy.
him too.
Yeah.
He's really.
I don't
really
know how.
artist.
Maybe I stumbled onto him because you liked something. I found it in Discover or something like that. But
Something like that. I think he's a Russian guy. But he lives.
is he? I can't tell. Okay.
I'm pretty sure he's. I mean, I follow a lot of Russian artists because Russian Impressionism is pretty prevalent right now.
I didn't know that.
Yeah.
Yeah. What's the contemporary art scene like while you're on it?
There's a lot. Galleries will have galleries like the curators or like the head of the gallery will like have artists that they like or like artists that will sell. But like you have abstract and that kind of like I don't know. It's like what we were saying, like different styles in a pond. Like there's all sorts of galleries and all sorts of styles and all sorts of artists. So like the contemporary scene is like pretty large, pretty difficult to muddle through. You just kind of have to find like your niche and find where your art best sells.
Mm-hmm.
So
have you attempted to sell in a gallery?
If there's some local galleries I want to reach out to and like kind of put my work out. But I haven't a lot of galleries that'll like approach you will ask you to pay them to like represent you, which are called vanity galleries, and they like make their money off of the artist and not off of the art.
Okay.
But yeah, like breaking into the gallery scene is pretty difficult because you have to have like a history of selling with galleries.
Mm-hmm.
So it's like,
It's like, how do you even start?
yeah,
Yeah.
you just have to be able to sell well. So like being a salesman is like important.
Huh. All right, let's wrap this segment. Yeah, go for it.
Oops.
Yeah, it's kind of a tough open.
Oh no, the cork broke. That's not a good sign. We'll get it in here.
You had to make it interesting for the camera.
Yeah.
Did you get it breaking? You got it this time. I can see it.
This might not end well.
Oh, I heard it. Release.
There we go. All right.
Did you get it? This is berry mead.
This is berry mead, yeah.
Sweet.
Here.
All right.
I think it's cherry. I'm not really sure.
Very red.
Yeah.
It's good.
That's not good.
I honestly can't tell if it's. I think it is cherry.
It might be. It's pretty weak, like the flavor of cherry. Yeah, I think this is cherry.
Andy, you're gonna be in trouble because you have to try our wine too.
Oh gosh.
We still got bottles over there. You have to pass out on the floor. All right, so we actually are rolling, I believe. So we'll go ahead and talk to people other than us. So do you want to show us some of your paintings?
Yeah, sure.
I don't know that I'm going to be able to provide intelligent commentary on it. Like,
I guess
I don't even know. You know, I just like look at a painting and I like it or not. I don't know, like, technically what is the...
we'll
Yeah.
work through that. I guess should I
I
just
liked that one.
So can we see it from there? I
You
guess.
can see it from there, and I think, Andy, you can put this on the screen, probably like full screen while we're talking about it.
Yeah.
Post.
So,
All right.
I
So
don't know
go
which
ahead
other
and pick
ones.
one.
So let's just start with the sunflowers.
Okay.
When did I do this one? I did this one. I finished it on the 25th of November this year.
Okay.
So I called this one Study because I was using my books as props for the vase. And I thought it was kind of quirky.
Yeah, I thought it was actually just a study.
Well, it's kind of a study because I was using like a different like process of like layering the paint. So with this one, I used my first layers were like with an alkyd medium, which is like a quick drying medium, but increases flow and increases drying time.
Okay.
And as it dries, it kind of gets a little stickier. So I switched to linseed oil. So kind of like.
So the paint is linseed oil based, or are you using that to thin it?
So paint consists of pigment and sometimes a binder, usually just a medium, which is like linseed oil, which gives it like the consistency of paint.
Okay.
So you add more linseed oil to like increase the flow, and you can get like I don't know, where's a good example? So like see like this kind of looks like it's scumbled, like it has like a broken texture to it.
Okay.
You get like that kind of application of paint over the two mediums. I don't know if the mediums are like if they're able to like coincide together because of like the drying time and like being two different mediums, but we'll see. So that's why like I guess I kind of call this one a study because I was like trying something new. But yeah, this is
So would you say like your subject in this is in focus and what's going on in your background? Or not? It almost reminds me of like a photograph, how your subject is somewhat in focus and I see the background as not being as.
Yeah. So I definitely take that into consideration when I'm like making a painting, like what is in focus and like what's the center, like what's like the central point of view. This is like a square format, 24 by 24. So it's kind of difficult to compose a painting in like a square format. So it's just kind of like rule of thirds, like pretty basic. But like my biggest difficulty with painting this was like, how do I like make the background interesting, but also like less
Not take away from your focal point.
Yeah. So basically I just like kind of like just did like little splashes of like color.
Yeah.
Like
there's a really neat texture there.
Yeah.
Also, your Instagram is in French.
Yeah. I've been studying French and I just like put my phone in French to like facilitate that.
Really? How's that? Or why French? And how's that going?
So I had to take a language for my degree and I didn't really want to. I didn't want to take Spanish, so I just decided on French because maybe I'll go back to French or France sometime.
Have you been to France?
Yeah, we lived in Belgium and like London and stuff when I was a little kid. So like we usually took like weekend trips to France, like Paris. So
is this where this started?
What, paint?
Yeah.
It might have because we visited like the Louvre and like
and all the wine.
Yeah,
the wine and the paint.
Yeah.
It's making sense now.
Yeah.
So, because your dad was in the military, or why were you living over there?
He was in the Navy. So, yeah. So I was born in Hawaii, moved to Boston. No, moved to DC, then Boston, then London, then Belgium, then Ohio, then Wisconsin, then DC again, then back to Ohio. So it's been a long road, but at one point in time, I spent most of my life in Europe when I was like 5.
What were those years like? You said you were only 5?
Well, we moved to London when I was 5. So I was like 5, 6, and then we moved to Belgium. But like, yeah, when you're that age, you don't really like think about being like foreign, like living in a foreign place. You don't like, you're just like kind of living somewhere. And it's kind of like, at that point, you like move so often that you don't really, it's just like, where are you going next? Like, okay, this is a cool house.
So when you're in the Navy, are you, so like your schooling, is it on the base?
Yeah.
So you're not in like Belgian schools?
No.
Okay.
They have like local schools, but we were on base schools. Okay. So we were in like an all-American school.
Did you speak French at all when you were in Belgium?
We had French classes, but like they didn't really teach us anything. The only word I remember from my French class was pantalon, which is pants.
That's the same as Spanish, I think.
I think it is.
No, that's cool. So, do you remember is there anything that sticks out from being over there? Like, did you travel at all or any cool memories?
Yeah, I have a lot of memories from there. One that sticks out, I don't know, there's a lot that stick out. I remember a place, I think it was, I don't remember the name. I could remember the name if I had more time, but I don't.
That's fine. No, just go.
It's all really interesting. It's hard to pinpoint like a really interesting memory from like your childhood because it kind of like at this point in time it like all like like Andrew's saying, it all like binds together, and it's all funny to look back on. Like, holy shit, I lived in like Belgium and stuff, and now I'm living in Ohio and continuing with my life.
Yeah, I guess I maybe had heard that at one point, but I like didn't even remember that. I didn't really know that.
Yeah,
that's really interesting.
Yeah, it definitely gives you like a different way of thinking.
Oh, for sure. So where in France did you visit?
Off the top of my head, I'm sure we visited more places than one, but Paris was like the big one. We went to Paris like quite a few times. But yeah, we went to I think we went to 14 different countries over there, just like on weekend trips and stuff. So
you ever make it to Spain?
Unfortunately, no.
No.
I really want to go there though.
I love Barcelona. I lived there for about 2 months.
Yeah. You did a study abroad, didn't you?
Yeah, it was like a paid research thing over there. Yeah, it was kind of like a study abroad experience, but somehow I got the trip paid for and was making a little bit of money while I was doing it.
That's pretty cool.
Not attending classes, so
that's really nice, actually.
Yeah, it was awesome. No, there really is a different way of thinking. I think. Well, for one thing, I think that the language that you grow up in completely informs the society you have and the thoughts you have. Even just some words aren't really available in different languages. So I think that's certainly part of it.
Yeah. You can't go on the same path that you've been used to going. You have to use different parts of your brain, I guess. Mm-hmm. So there's different phrases and stuff.
There's a lot of, I know when I was learning different languages, I feel like it unlocked a whole different level of creativity for me.
Yeah. There's it's because you're using the same words, words translate similarly, but the words are different. So I don't know. They're I haven't been studying so intensively that I'm fluent or anything, but it's I don't know. It's
so my art form is more so it's more words than images.
Yeah.
I just never really was trained to draw or paint or anything like that.
Yeah.
I appreciate looking at it, but especially when I was studying Spanish more, sometimes I would write poetry in Spanish, but even writing in English, I felt like while studying Spanish, it unlocked completely different metaphors for me, or just different connections between different words.
Yeah. You can, words that rhyme in English don't rhyme differently in say French. Mm-hmm. Yeah. I'm not big into writing poetry. I like writing in French. I like writing. It's fun, but yeah. How
are you learning French right now?
Mostly reading. I read a lot of Harry Potter in French.
Okay.
Because it's a lot of basic vocabulary and grammar structures. And I listen to a lot of the audiobooks, and I think I'm on book 7 of Harry Potter right now. Mm-hmm. So at this point I've heard the same sentences over and over and over again. So I have I can understand mostly what they're saying. And when I'm reading, I can understand mostly what they're saying, but a lot of times, there's certain vocabulary that you don't understand.
Yeah. Do you ever have to stop and look things up?
A lot, yeah. Per page, probably average 10 times. Mm-hmm. So.
Yeah, and I found it always so much easier to read than to speak.
Yeah. it takes
It's
a lot
just
of
a
courage
whole
to
another
speak.
level.
Yeah.
Courage.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because you have to when you're like speaking a different language, like you don't know if you're speaking it correctly, but when you're reading it, like you're just like it's like pretty direct.
I felt like I understood Spanish very well, but I was never really confident enough to speak it.
Yeah.
In Spain.
Yeah.
I don't know. There's almost a thing too where, like, one, you're self-conscious about how you sound a lot, and two, for me, it's when you're speaking, there's almost no delay. For me in Spanish, it felt like there's, even if it was just like a 2 or 2 second delay, it was enough that it was so uncomfortable for me that I just did not want to do it. Of just processing what they were saying. What am I going to say back? It wasn't like just effortless.
Yeah. I mean, I'm definitely not able to like speak fluently at all. I can I think it's all about like learning phrases and like variations of phrases and then like going from there. I don't know.
There's something about learning it academically too, where you're trained so much on like what is right or wrong. Like we were learning grammar and things like that. So I'm almost over analyzing everything I would think to say
right
or right versus just doing it. Where if you're a toddler and no one's like,
right,
you know, you're not like consciously thinking about, am I doing this correctly?
Yeah, because you kind of have to think about like where it is, like the word he, it, she, the action, verb, or like whatever. I don't know all the phrases of like grammar, but like you kind of have to think about like where all the words go because they're like pretty often they're like placed like differently.
Oh yeah, yeah. Sentence structure. I'm sure it's similar in Spanish or in French, but in Spanish, it's not like the relationship between the subject and the verb is different a lot of times than
it's
in
like
English.
I to you to verb or whatever or something like that. At least in French, I don't know.
Yeah, it's an interesting thing. I don't know. That's cool that your phone is in that though. That's a good way to learn.
Yeah, I mean, you kind of just like pick up on the words, I guess. I don't know.
Were there any other paintings that you want to, after that little detour?
I guess we kind of talked about these. These are like these last 3 ones I posted are like ones where I'm like kind of like studying like.
I really like that one. I mean, there's not a whole ton of clarity to me. I mean, just layman, me looking at it. There's not a lot of clarity, but I really enjoy that one.
Yeah. So I did this one like pretty late at night. Not really late at night, but it was like, well, in the wintertime, it was like 4:00 and it's like getting kind of hazy out and it's like kind of snowing.
Yeah, that's what I think it captures Ohio winter. It's not that clear.
It's not that clear. There's not a lot there, but there's like, it's kind of interesting. Like when you like kind of develop an eye for color, you kind of like see like where the oranges and yellows lie. And then like the trees are like pretty starkly gray, but like compared to like the field and the sky, they're like pretty purple. And then I don't know, like the sky is like pretty gray, but it's like has a blue tone to it because of like just
So is there kind of a, I guess, a trapping, I guess what I'll use, of overpainting something, of making it look too alike? Because it's almost like if you put something down, the mind can interpret it, and you almost don't have to overdevelop what you're painting.
So that's kind of like the basis of like impressionism, is where like it's like the impression of the thing, like it looks like it, or like it feels like it kind of has like the same structure and like lighting as it does in real life. But when you're like overpainting something, like this is pretty like quickly done. Like it's not like overly done. I would say it's not like,
oh no, that one's not at all. I was just saying,
yeah, I'm trying to find one that's
general.
kind of like this one's like, this one's on the like the edge of being overdone.
What's up?
It's this.
We also only have 15 seconds, so maybe if you can hold that thought.
Yeah.
We have to break it. All right, we're recording. All right, do you remember where you were at? There's something about, I mentioned something about overpainting and impressionist style, and
yeah, we were talking about like overpainting and artwork. So like I was saying earlier, we were talking about like when you know a piece is finished, and overpainting is like just basically like going beyond that point, and it kind of takes away from it takes away from like the like I don't know how to phrase it. It takes away from like you're overworking it. Like it doesn't in an artwork that's like loosely painted. You want it to like look like it happened like at one point in time. So when you overwork it, it kind of like takes on. I don't want to say more complete, but it takes on a more.
So I guess what I would say is, me personally, like the viewer is a portion of the painting,
Right.
and I think that overworking sort of takes away a piece of what the viewer can add to the painting that they're looking at.
Yeah. So like going back to impressionism, and again, like I don't really like using that term because it's like there's impressionism, which is like trying to copy the light, and there's impressionism where you're like trying to paint loosely, which is like I think it's a different style on its own. But when you're trying to paint loosely, you're trying to leave the viewer with the ability to like interpret some of the painting. So like you paint like a dark line and a light line, and like they would like to you it would look like a physical object like in light. But if you like go beyond that point where like eventually it just looks like a cube or something. Like I don't know how to describe it.
Okay, I intuitively understand what you're saying, but yeah, I'm not really sure how to put it in words exactly.
Yeah, I'm sure if I was
and me, I'm only playing the viewer part, so that's my perspective of it.
Right. Yeah, but like yeah, I mean I try to find a good example of like an underworked or like something that looks like here. Like look at this one. So this one, like you can tell like it's a house, but like there's a I don't know, maybe this one is a little overworked.
So this one, if anyone's following along, the caption is a quick pastel study of the neighbor's house.
I'll show it. Yeah. So like you're able to tell like what it is, but like there's like when you look at it like closely, like there's pretty few details in like the shadows or like the color.
Do you like using pastels?
Yeah. I like using direct mediums. So like they give me the ability to like get color down, like form down like immediately. And pastels kind of like facilitate that because like you get the shape and the color and the shadows and the lights down like really easily. And they're pretty similar to like oil paints, so I think they're good. They're a good medium to use, similar to like gouache.
Yeah. So Olivia will she's sitting off camera, but she'll probably make fun of me. I like to use pastels as like chalk or like crayons.
Yeah.
Draw just kind of like a kid and just like literally just take a pastel and just draw whatever. So
yeah. Pastels are like they're a really good medium because they're like refined enough to be like a medium on their own, but they're like reminiscent of like crayons, and that's like childish, but like there's like a certain element of like childishness that you want in your artwork to give it like that playfulness.
I feel like you see so much of that in Picasso, especially as he continued to mature in age.
Yeah,
it's like almost just kept getting more and more.
Yeah, I think he's
childlike.
He said something like, "It took me like 14 years to paint like a master, and then it took me like 80 years to paint like a kid again, or something like that." So, yeah, that goes back to Picasso. He was a really good salesman because, I mean, you have to break into the gallery scene somehow, and like he did it by like creating a style and like dominating the style. And after that, it's just like marketing basically. So I don't want to take anything away from Picasso. Like maybe he was a genius, maybe he wasn't. Maybe he's just a really good salesman. But I like his artwork. I like some of it. I don't like most of it, or like all of it.
Really?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's probably a piece of both. I went to the Picasso Museum while I was in Barcelona. There's a lot of his kind of younger pieces and older pieces, things that weren't really in his prime. It was quite. Are you hearing that like staccato?
Yeah,
thing too. So we were talking about Picasso. I feel like we resolved that over the break. We had an extended interlude.
Yeah.
What are your thoughts on Van Gogh, his popularity or lack thereof during his actual living years?
Yeah. So, like, as most people probably know, because of Van Gogh's contemporary popularity, he's like the standard tortured artist. He's like tortured for his craft or whatever.
Or mentally ill?
Yeah, mentally ill.
Yeah.
I think.
Possibly.
Yeah.
Like he ended up in an asylum, right?
Mm-hmm. I think Asylum at St. Remy's or something like that. He's.
Did syphilis get him?
I think gonorrhea did.
Gonorrhea.
Well, gonorrhea and a
those
gunshot.
STDs at in that time period got every notable person.
Yeah, pretty much. Well, I think he committed suicide. There's some discrepancy if he actually shot himself or someone else did. Yeah, he was relatively unknown. Well, he's not relatively unknown, but he was at the time Impressionism and Impressionism wasn't super popular. But his brother Theo was connected with
He was a dealer, right?
Yeah, he was an art dealer. He was connected with a lot of popular impressionists like Monet and stuff like that. So Van Gogh was in touch with very, very high key figures at the time. And the myth that he only sold one artwork during his lifetime, I don't know if that's true or not, because there's I've read stuff oh, it's not true, oh, it is true. So maybe he did, maybe he didn't, but I think some of that had to do with a disgust for materiality, which I don't know if that's true as well. But
I haven't heard that piece of it. So
yeah,
you think it was possible that he didn't want to sell?
It's possible. There's do you, what is artwork worth money? That's, I think that's the question that they're trying to get at. What, how much are you willing to give your artwork away for? Is it worth $400 or $500 or $1,000 or $1 million?
Did he retain his painting? So it might have been that nobody met the value of it, or that he didn't see point in selling it, or what?
Maybe he just saw it as a personal endeavor, or he didn't see the point in selling it. I mean, he definitely tried to sell it. He shipped stuff off to his brother, and people actually bought his work.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm not sure if. I mean, I can't really say this because I'm not a Van Gogh expert, and I've only read one article about this. But he I don't know, the whole myth about him being able or not being able to sell any of his artwork. I don't know if that's necessarily true, because he was pretty popular during his time.
Mm-hmm.
But he was relatively unknown, in a wider sense, because there's other more dominating styles of artwork at that time.
So he was well known within his genre.
Yeah, within his group, the Impressionist post Impressionist group. He was a leading figure within that group. But it's the wider sense of the world, he's pretty unknown. And today, because he wrote so many letters, and because he completed such a huge body of work, he's pretty well known thanks to some people.
His brother's really a connection us to him, right? A lot of the letters were collected and possibly published by his brother.
Yeah, I don't think they were published by his brother. I think his brother died shortly after Van Gogh did.
Okay.
And I think Theo Van Gogh's wife became a proponent for Van Gogh's artwork, and actually helped distribute it and make it popular. I forgot what I was trying to get at. But yeah, so he was relatively unknown, and today he's super popular and huge influence, and he's considered the one of the most influential artists on modern art.
Why do you think that is?
It's just because nobody at that time has seen art like that. So everything's dark and moody or realistic, and then he just comes out and it's colorful expressionist, or however you want to phrase it. It's it's unknown art in the time. People, they're not ready for it, and they don't really know how to react to it.
Mm-hmm.
But today it's commonplace for art to look like that. And I think we were like talking in the beginning like about Instagram art, and I think like I can't like say for sure about like anyone else because like social media like surely is like targeted towards like your likes and dislikes.
Yeah.
So you see a lot of artwork that is like based off of Van Gogh, and it almost becomes like a niche artwork form where it's like it's texture and it's color, and it's like basically it. Like you're looking at artwork because it's not for the sake of the artwork itself, but for the sake of like the paint, like the texture of the paint, the color of the paint. And it's not original. It's not like super original. Like it's how hard is it to like slap paint on the like a canvas? But
so originality has a lot of value in your mind.
I think so. I mean, like I was saying, like how many times have you seen like a painting of like a trail with a barn on the side? Like there's like you could paint that so many times over and over and again. It's always going to be like the same idea, the same composition. And I think like the endeavor of like into artwork is like to create something like not necessarily new, but like something fresh.
So is there something, I mean, originality is a piece of it, but then do you also see a piece of it being like that physical work as in not a copy, as in, how do I want to put it? There's value in the uniqueness of a piece.
Yeah. I mean, like we were talking about Van Gogh, like, or not Van Gogh, but like Picasso, or his artwork is like super abstract, and he like kind of like shows us like the development of abstraction with like the bowl paintings or the drawings that you're talking about.
Yeah. Yeah, and I think that was off air, but like go just like look up like bowl sketches, Picasso. There's sort of a progression of more developed to less developed, more abstract bowls.
Yeah.
All right. Sorry, we had a little bit of technical difficulties and talked off camera, but
we're back.
I said I was going to throw you a curveball, but you didn't hear any of the previous conversation, so it still holds. What do you think about digital art and I guess the development of NFTs, selling your art in that sort of way?
I'll start off by saying that I have no idea like how NFTs work or anything about them at all. So I'm not going to talk about that. I like digital artwork. It's, I think you can like make digital artwork work in a sense that like you can get it to look how you want it to look, like any way you want it to look. Like you can make it look like super abstract or super realistic or like super like modern. And I think that's like the benefit of like being able to work digitally. But you definitely lose like a sense of like physicality with it. Mm-hmm. Even though, I mean, I think it goes like people who don't like digital art are the people who kind of say like video games aren't real, but video games exist within reality, and like that's also reality. So like digital art must also be real. So I don't know.
Yeah, I agree that it's real. I think there's a human element to art, almost like error that happens in art or just brush strokes. I guess speaking to the physicality that you spoke of that I enjoy.
Yeah. I think like with digital art, you're able to like, I don't know what it is, like undo or like the undo button or whatever. So you can like remove like misdrawn lines or whatever. Like you can't really do that with physical artwork. So you kind of have to like pressure yourself into be able to like draw the perfect line. And you can do that with digital art, but like it gives you like a safety net. And I think that's like also a good thing. It's like, I have nothing against digital art. I just like the physical medium.
Mm-hmm. Have you worked with digital art at all?
Not really.
Yeah.
I mean, I've like on my phone, I've done like color sketches on like the Notes app or whatever. And like, that's pretty helpful because I don't have anything else with me. So I can do that.
Are there ways you could somewhat combine the two? Are there ways you could paint, take an image of it and work with it digitally? Yeah.
Well, I in today's time, like digital, like digital art and physical art kind of like intertwined, because you can work with a photograph, you can work with a color sketch you've done on your iPad, you can like make a color study on your Wacom tablet. Yeah. But you like there's no limit to like what you can do with digital art, and I think that like really helps out physical artwork. But I think physical artwork will always be dominant because it's like a physical object, and like there's original element, like going back to originality. There's an original element to like you bought this canvas and you painted on this canvas, but with digital art, it's a file, and then you print the file, and there's like multiple prints you can do, and like there's like all the prints are different, but there's only one original artwork when you're working physically. Mm-hmm. So, I mean, I guess that works with the file, but I don't know.
Yeah, like if there were ways to identify the file as like the one unique file, or does that change anything in your opinion or no?
I don't think so, because like with like digital artwork, every replication is the same in a sense, but with an original artwork, there's only so much. There's only the paint that you put on it that is like there, and when you print out a print of an original artwork, it's not the same thing.
Right.
It's just the ink copy of it. It's not an oil painting with the same exact like vigor and like life put into it. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, you definitely miss the element of the actual artist interacting with the physical piece of art.
Right. Yeah. I don't know. I mean, I wouldn't take anything away from digital art. Like, gosh, what's his name? He's like the British artist who does like the landscapes.
I'm not sure.
I should know his name. I can't, but he's the first guy to
like contemporary, like right now.
Contemporary, yeah. He was like the first guy to put a digital artwork in a gallery.
Okay.
I can't remember his name.
It's not Beeple. He's probably the most famous like digital artist right now, but I don't think that's who he's talking about.
No.
I don't think he does landscapes exactly. So when you're painting, I mean, you talk about nature. So you feel that your artwork can convey nature? Is that what you most often try to convey? Or some sort of like an essence that you feel at the moment?
Yeah. I think I try to like, I don't know if I like really try to like convey a sense of like nature. I don't like chase the light, so to say. I don't like, if I like a sunset and I'll paint a sunset, but I don't really like painting sunsets. So I think what I try to like convey with my artwork is like a sense of feeling, like a feeling for like, you can't really like describe a feeling, but like with the sunflowers, like I try to convey a sense of like it's like morning and I'm painting the morning sunlight on the sunflowers, and I'm trying to convey that sense of like stillness and like peacefulness and loneliness at the same time. And it's like,
so would you say like doing art, it's almost like an impulsion? Would you agree with that?
Yeah.
For me personally, it's like an impulsion. And I think there is a piece of it where I do it just for me a lot of times. Mm-hmm. But there also is a component of it where I do like it to be shared. And there is something like I feel a way in a certain time and I'm trying to convey that to an audience.
I mean, I definitely do it for myself. It's I forget who said it, but like artwork is like it's like it's like an addiction or something. It's like cigarettes. Like you have to really go after it. Like you have to go out of your way to like get it and like do it and like feel it. Mm-hmm. But I definitely do artwork for myself. Like it's totally personal, like egotistical. Like I want it to be because I want to do it, and like I want to be an artist and I want to make money off of my art. And I don't necessarily want to make art just to make art. I want to make art because I want to make art like full time, like every single day of my life. But that's not totally possible right now. Mm-hmm. So
Yeah, it's not art for the sake of art.
yeah, well, it's
Because there's some people that's their art for the sake of art.
yeah. I want to be able to make art for the sake of art, but at the same time, I have to be able to make art for the sake of like income and like being able to feed myself, put a roof over my head.
Yeah.
So like, there's like I have to like go through that until I can be able to like until people like want to be able to like buy my art for the sake of buying my art.
Mm-hmm.
So there's like I have to like pander to like a certain degree of like pop culture, like people like what we were saying, like yeah.
How do you feel you pander to pop culture? Like, what is pop culture and what you're doing right now? How do you see that influencing your work?
I think, well, we're talking about like texture and color and like realism, and I kind of try to like combine the three. Or you're getting like dashes of like texture within like parts that need texture. I'm trying to like make it look like it should look. Like I'm trying to make the subject look real, but I'm trying to influence it with texture so like it pops out of you. And with color, I'm trying to like enhance the color. Like none of the colors I use are real. Like they're not super, like everything we see around us is like a gray. It's a gray with a little bit of like pigment in it. And at least when I like mix colors, I'm using like more color than I should be using because it makes the painting to me look better.
Who do you think your audience is? And do they understand that?
My audience is probably, my audience is like people like immediately around me at this point in time.
Yeah.
But like the people who like would buy my art, people with like, I don't know. It's something I really haven't figured out yet.
So my question, so like if I was in your shoes, what I would struggle with is, do I make my art somewhat tailored to an audience because I need to sell it? Do I just make my art the way that I want to make it?
Well, the art that I make for myself is definitely art that I make for myself. Like I want to make it this way and that's how I'm going to make it. But like if I'm doing like a commission piece, I take into account like people don't necessarily want something to look like completely abstract. Like I'm doing a race car right now, and like with a car, like you want to be able to like look at the car and be like, oh yeah, this is the line that leads to wherever. I mean, I'm not a car guy, but like the car is like sleek and has lines and it's like linear and like mathematical, and you have to like comply with that nature of the car being how it is, and you kind of can't get away from that unless you're a really good artist, then you can.
So for each commission, do you kind of assess what you think the person wants?
It depends. I'm kind of trying to get away from people like telling me what to paint. I want to paint what I want to paint, and with commissions, like people would be like, hey, like, I want you to paint me a picture of my pet. And I'm like, I'm okay with that because I like dogs and cats and stuff. And like painting dogs are like, it's fun because you get the sense of like how a dog is, like their personality.
Do you actually get dogs to sit for you?
No. I've done like with like my bulldogs, they're lazy. So like they just lay around a lot. I can do paintings of them or like studies of them and, use those studies for final composition. Is
a portrait of an animal similar to a portrait of a person?
Very much so. Yeah. I think, especially in today's time where like people like anthropomorphize animals and like the animal has like a certain personality that you want to convey, especially like even more so than humans almost. Mm-hmm. So there's like we're both animals, but we can make art and they can't.
Yeah, it's probably more easy to characterize a animal as well.
Definitely. Because animals, when you paint a dog, like the dog doesn't know that you painted him necessarily. He knows that there's like an object in front of him with like colors and stuff on it, from at least what I can understand. And you don't know that they don't know that it looks like them, but it does to the owner. Mm-hmm. And I think that's where you can get away with like abstraction and whatnot.
Yeah. I think this is a good place to wrap it up. Battery's about to die. Thanks, John, for joining us today.
Thank you, Clay.
It's been a good conversation.
Thank you, Olivia.
Yeah.
It's been really
I
fun.
did a lot.
You're done.